Hello, so today we're going to be talking about Naruto. So what I've done, I've posted 2 Naruto videos in the past, and that was for those 2 videos covered part 1. So one of my patrons recommended that a good stopping point to make a video was at this point at volume 48, which is a great stopping point. The problem is that I have too much to say and exhaustively long videos, while you always tell me you're fine with it. It's a strain on me to produce videos that long in one sitting. It's just, I like breaking things up. So in this video, we're talking about volumes 28, which is the beginning of volume 2, through 34. It's not that much, which is just 2 arcs. We're talking about the Kazekage rescue mission arc and the Tenchi Bridge Renaissance mission arc. My goodness, these arc names are long. So there's a lot to talk about in these sections, so I'm just gonna get into it. So part 2 starts off with a check-in with the post-time skip characters, and it's really good to see them all again. A couple of highlights for me. Sakura is looking amazing as a mini Tsunade. She's become so strong, and she's a talented healer. Long gone are the days where she was this passive side character that really didn't do anything other than react and act like a middle school child. Sakura has matured a lot. She really cares about Naruto now, rather than just constantly shouting at him or cutting him down. She's built up a genuine friendship, a genuine bond with the people around her that goes a lot deeper than the crush and the not crush. Also, Itachi is back, and I didn't realize that him overextending himself in part 1 would have such a huge effect on him that he's actually starting to lose his eyesight, and that then causes him to seek out Sasuke even more. But the whole scene where Naruto got pulled into the nightmare realm, with Naruto trying to break the Genjutsu, and then Naruto starting to peel and then mend into another, that scene was incredible. I expected a lot of quick, this is where the characters are scenes, but this showed the development as well as raising the stakes. It was just such a cool scene. I'm saving all my commentary on Itachi for later because there's stuff to come that colors how I view everything, but I just wanted to mention this scene really quick because I loved it. And finally, as far as these quick check-ins go, I also want to mention Gaara. First of all, his fight looked amazing. I love how much Naruto's words have had an impact on Gaara and his personal development and trust in himself and the people around him, and how that all parallels so well with Naruto. Him wanting to work hard and earn that respect. Him realizing that he gets to choose his own path and he's not forced to accept what's been given to him. That he can have love too. Gaara gaining that acceptance that he's desired for so long, and how that has stemmed from Naruto gaining his acceptance. He's just come so far, and it's just really cool to see Naruto back at the beginning of part 1 and where he was in his personal journey of isolation and loneliness and gaining this found family, and then wanting to give that hope to other people, wanting to pull that out in other people, and how that's affected Gaara. Gaara's my favorite character right now in the series, and I want to be very clear that it's a really close run between characters like Gaara and Kakashi, Shikamaru. We still have Rock and Guy. Even Sai is up there really high for me now. This is a series with a lot of characters that I'm really growing to love, but it's just really nice to see how far Gaara has come, which naturally means that the series is setting him up for a death. So far, my favorite role Naruto, the character, has played in part 2 has been his emotional response to the horrors and pain of loss in war. Maybe it's because the shinobi work hard to be strong and do what they have to do. So in contrast, seeing Naruto weep for his friends being lost to their own hatred, or lost because they've once again been used as a tool for others to gain power, is extremely effective for me as a reader. But Naruto yelling at Gaara to get up really struck me. Gaara is the kid that can defend against most forms of ninjutsu. He has a defense so tough that it's nearly impossible to crack. So the thought of him being killed seems impossible to Naruto. This scene strikes that balance of what happened in front of Naruto doesn't seem physically possible because he's seen how strong Gaara is and how strong his defense is, what he can defend against. And so it just doesn't seem, in Naruto's mind, I assume, and I'm projecting here, I assume he can't imagine someone who can kill Gaara, but it also mingles that, it tangles that together with the very human feeling of experiencing loss and just not really being able to accept the reality that's in front of you, not willing to understand that death has happened, that this person is actually gone, and so just screaming at them, get up, is such a relatable human reaction of, this can't be real, this isn't real, I don't accept this. Gaara is a child that was at a very young age just desperate for some form of acceptance and love. And because that was rejected of him, he went down a path of pain, of violence, of murder, of death, and isolation because he was taught that he was completely undeserving of love, and there was no avenue for him to have that need fulfilled. And it was through Naruto seeing past Gaara's actions and seeing past his defenses and seeing something that he understood. Naruto being able to understand and relate to Gaara, to cry for him and show him that there is a path. At least there was a path for Naruto that contained friends. That's what gave Gaara the hope that he could start fighting for his own path. I love the panels of him before his death. I can just feel the peace and calm radiating off of him. I can feel that he's settled with himself, that he is no longer pushing everything down or blocking everything out, that he's no longer filled with this pain and this hurt that he's been carrying his whole life. I can just feel the peace on his character in the way that he was drawn, and I love seeing him like that so much. And it's in the crest of this new arc for him that he's once again grabbed a hold of by the world and treated as less than human, treated as nothing but a tool for someone else to use for their own bid for power, treated as someone worthless, as a thing, as a tool. And it's in witnessing that system at play once again and harming someone that Naruto cares about once again that makes him lose control in this world where it feels like these characters oftentimes feel like they have no control. I love it so much. We'll come back to it. But now we need to talk about Sakura because I'm loving her arc right now too. In part 1, it read like someone who was genuinely trying to write young girls, but just having no idea how to write a girl other than crushes and flowers. But after training under Tsunade, she has become incredibly strong. She's someone who's quick on her feet and refuses to stand on the sidelines. She's a true fighter and a selfless one. When she rushed to protect Granny Chiyo from being killed, then told her to take the antidote, that she would be fine despite having a sword just running her through, and held on to that sword, refusing to let go. I was just so impressed with how far this character has come. In contrast, Sasori is such a tragic character arc. Once again, war has left behind a lonely child in need of love, going so far as to create puppets of his parents and manipulate them so that he could feel some sort of parental love. Sasori wanted his parents to come back, and they never did, and it was devastating for him as a young child. He became dedicated to not aging and to control. He was a master at puppet jutsu, eliminating weaknesses in puppets and at least attempting to in himself as well. It's so tragic that Granny Chiyo developed this new technique for her grandson, to give him a real life with his parents. But because of who he chose to be, she was forced to use those very parental puppets to kill him. And she chose to give this gift to Sakura, in part, and eventually to Gaara. Now we need to talk about the parallels between Sasori and Gaara, because the parallels between Naruto and Gaara are strong and apparent. Two boys who have been forced to have this many-tailed spirit on them, and that's caused them to have this pain, this loss, this isolation, and now they're forging their new paths, right? But the parallels between Sasori and Gaara, while not identical, are strong and apparent as well, and so effective in this arc. It's a boy who's lost his parents because of this war, a boy who's turned to violence because of the lack of love that he so desperately needs. It's a boy whose defense is near unbeatable, but that defense is there not exclusively in the physical, but it's there, it's been built up because of the vulnerability that they have from all the pain that they've experienced. But while Gaara was able to break free from the cycle because of the hope that Naruto gave him, Sasori wasn't. Sasori was destroyed by this cycle, and even more tragically, his last remaining family member was the one that was forced to do it to him, or the one who was forced to finish him, bringing that tragedy of an arc that Sasori has to a full circle, that losing his family was the thing that turned him that turned him to this cycle, and then the cycle destroyed him, finishing with a family member having to end it. It's just, oh gosh, it's so, I love it. I hate it. I love it. And this whole arc has such an emphasis on sacrifice. The sacrifice of Gaara for the sake of other people gaining power. The sacrifice of Sakura for Granny Chiyo. Granny Chiyo giving the sacrifice of the antidote for, and part of herself, for Sakura. Granny Chiyo having built up this new type of ninjutsu, spending so much time to do this so she could sacrifice herself for her grandson. But because of who her grandson chose to be, she ended up using that sacrifice for someone else. And once again, watching Naruto react to Gaara's death was so emotionally raw. It was so tragic. Again, he started to lose control of his grief and fury. Found family is the one thing that Naruto has in this life. It's the hope that's kept him going, and the hope that he's shown to others by trying to save them too. So when he loses someone like Sasuke or Gaara, not exclusively to death, but to the system. In Sasuke's case, it's the system of loss and hatred that changed him. And in Gaara's case, it's the system of doing whatever it takes and using whoever you can to gain power. And Naruto loses control, to the point that Kakashi has to step in and make him stop before the Fox Spirit would completely take him over. Naruto may bring hope of a new shinobi way to people in this series, but he also needs the people around him in order to survive. He isn't some hero that spreads hope and joy to all and is the perfect solution to everything in the series. He is bringing a new way, but he's also a hurting kid in a broken world that would crumble without the people around him. Also, Kakashi teleporting away to protect them all from the explosion was an incredible scene. Kakashi is easily one of my top characters in the series. I think I already said that in this video, but it needs to be said again. And every single scene he's in, he makes better. Every scene is better because he's in it. Again, I love Naruto's reaction to his honest, raw, visceral reaction to the pain that he's experiencing around him through other people, through the loss of other people. His emotional response, which was fair and right, and he deserved it, to say, who are you to choose someone else's path? If you hadn't done this to Gaara, this never would have happened. And then just collapsing into sobs because he couldn't save Sasuke and he couldn't save Gaara, and he's just feeling broken. It was such a good scene. And if you've heard my commentary in any other video probably, then you know that I hate fake out deaths and resurrection. I always have, even when I was exclusively a novel reader. This has always been, these are some of my least favorite tropes. And then I started reading manga, and my goodness, manga is littered with these tropes, especially the shonen series. It's like, I don't trust death ever anymore. And that is a real issue for me because it makes really amazing death scenes muted. to me because I don't trust anything anymore. I don't trust a death anymore. And I would like to complain about that here because I actually think that this whole sequence with Gaara is a resurrection trope done so well. It had such literary impact on the series. It had such thematic relevance to everything that was happening in this arc. It was emotionally raw. It tied so well into the themes of sacrifice and war, and it brought Gaara's arc to a full, it was, I love so much about this section, and it makes me so mad that we have so many cheap fake out deaths / resurrections, not just in Naruto, all over her series, because I just want the good ones to shine without the dampening of me always being in the back of my head of saying, well, are they really dead though? Is it gonna stick? Is it gonna last? That's just a broad complaint. But now back to this particular scene, because I love the way the resurrection was done. I love the way this whole scene played out. Because while I do think that it would have been a fantastic end to leave Gaara dead, because it would have shown that life, especially life in the midst of a war, isn't always merciful. And people who still have stories to tell, that still have arcs to live out, don't always end up getting that time, that sometimes their arcs that they deserve to have, the future that they deserve to have, is snuffed out in the face of evil. But with this arc that was so full of sacrifice and was so full of Naruto just screaming at the system and recognizing the unfairness of it all, and then Granny Cho being from the Sand Tribe. I don't know who put the fox spirit, the fox spirit in Gaara. I'm not sure who did that. Maybe that might be my bad memory, so apologies. You can let me know. It wasn't Granny Cho though, right? Chio. It wasn't Granny Chio, was it? I don't believe so. But the point is that someone of Gaara's own tribe did this to him. And someone from his own tribe breaking that cycle, breaking that system, and sacrificing her own life to give him the chance to live his life out. When his life was stolen from him and he lived in years of torment, now she's giving her life up for the sake of someone else. It was supposed to be for the sake of her grandson, but instead it's for the sake of someone who is in the process of breaking the cycle on his own. And so now she's giving her life to him so that he can continue to break that cycle. So she, sorry, I'm over explaining this, I know, but I'm really into the symbolism here. So she breaks this cycle by surrendering her life to him, and he is breaking the cycle of this hatred and surrendering over to what the world has made him into as well. So it's just thematically, this arc is so rich. It's so circular. It's beautiful. And I think it would have worked for him to have lived or died, but I think either one would have worked for the story, but it would have told a different story. It would have held a different meaning for what the story was trying to say. And Naruto is obviously a story of hope and a story of, I think, of change. Change in systems, change in cycles, the new generation bringing something new, bringing a new way, a new path. So I love the way this all played out. I loved this arc so much. Okay, shifting into, I believe, a new arc, we're now going to move on past all that emotional stuff and get into more emotional stuff because this is Naruto, my goodness. I loved the reintroduction of Shinto and Kona. Poor Shinto just wants to be remembered. He just wants to be valued and cared about, even if he makes it extremely difficult. And my sweet boy Choji charging into action when that painting attacked him was so great. I really like Sai. First of all, he easily gets under Naruto's skin, and I always love that kind of dynamic between characters. But I also love that Naruto is willing to work with him to save Sasuke, but refuses to call him a team member or even acknowledge that he looks similar to Sasuke. But while I love the dynamic Sai has with other characters, it's who Sai is that really endears me to him. He has this art-based jutsu, but he can't tap into his own emotions or sense of self enough to even name a piece of art he's created. It seems like he can only mimic, but not have any connection to anything. He says such cruel things in cold ways, and it looks like he's trying to be antagonistic, and maybe he is somewhat, but it seems like he just doesn't know how to socialize. He just doesn't know how to connect with people on any sort of emotional way. He doesn't know how to tease correctly. He doesn't know how to have camaraderie. And later on, we see, I'll keep it to what's just in these volumes. That only builds. We'll talk more about Sai later. The next big scene that I want to talk about, though, that I absolutely loved was when Orochimaru and Kabuto were on the bridge and everybody showed up. First of all, I didn't realize that Kabuto was helping him use the same bodies over and over again for experiments. He's always come off to me as like the very skilled medic and the errand boy, but apparently he plays an even bigger role than I realized, and I think there's a lot that I don't really understand about this character yet. But I do quite like him. He adds a lot to things. Where Orochimaru isn't my favorite antagonist in the series, this whole sequence was incredible. So Naruto, Sakura, and Sai all jump into action, and Naruto's rage takes him over when he sees Orochimaru, and he loses himself to the fox spirit again. He now has 4 tails, which harms friend and foe. This is where we learn that Jiraiya was injured by Naruto while he was in this form. And again, for all that Naruto is in this series, for so many people, his defensiveness over his friend is both his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. And it's this weakness of losing control of his emotions because his friends are hurting that's actually causing Naruto to hurt his own people. First Jiraiya, now Sakura, when she pushed him back and she got knocked out. And then he destroyed the bridge on top of that, nearly killing Sakura. The scene where Sakura was falling and then Sai just flies right past her, not even sparing her a glance, was chilling. Thankfully, we had Yamato there, who was able to reach out with his wooden jutsu and save her. That scene really struck me. The art around the fox spirit is always a 10 out of 10 for me. Not only is it clean, but it's imposing, and it's so effective at showing how powerful the fox spirit is and how real the struggle for control is between the spirit and Naruto. Like I said, Orochimaru is not my favorite villain. He's disgusting, which that's intentional, but there are also some panels that I don't really know what to do with. It sometimes crosses the line for me into so absurd that I can't take him seriously. I like what he is for the series, but he's just not my favorite. All that said, when Sai approached him as an envoy for Danzo, and without hesitation, he stabbed him through before he melted into ink. That was an incredible scene. So Naruto not only nearly almost killed Sakura on the bridge, but he then injured her when she tried to heal him, when she tried to help him. He injured her arm. And I appreciate her bravery and her strength that she didn't want to tell Naruto because he wasn't completely in control of himself and it's not something that he would have ever chosen to do, but I'm really glad Yamato told him anyway because he needed to know. Naruto would never want to be such a liability to his own friends. He would never want to be actively harming the people that he cares about the most. That's the antithesis of who he is. So he needs to know that losing control to the fox spirit is doing this. And I appreciate Sakura for trying to protect him and trying to be strong for him when he's already got enough going on, but Yamato is such a great leader, and I really, really appreciate that he pushes to make sure that Naruto knows what he's done so that he can respond appropriately. I loved his emphasis to Naruto that he doesn't need the fox spirit to be strong. What he needs is to rely on his own strength and see through his own eyes. I really love Yamato. He's such a good leader. Anyway, then Sakura finds Sai's book. And I love the illustration of the boy fighting his different opponents and becoming stronger as he goes, as well as gaining skill and objects from each opponent. I may be off base, but the characters that he drew kind of looked like yokai rather than people, so I'm just gonna pocket that and see if anything comes of it. Something about the pose of the incomplete image had me guessing that it was supposed to be the brothers holding hands, but even with me having guessed that, it didn't take away from the scene when he holds the book up and sees Naruto and his brother and finally finishes the drawing. It was such a beautiful image of Naruto bringing hope in the face of all this suffering once again. And the final section surrounding the scene that I want to talk about here is with the reintroduction of Sasuke, because oh my goodness, this was so good. Leading up to this section, it's funny, it was actually after, it was the volume before this, I want to say, because I give commentary on my Patreon. When I finish a volume, I write out a whole bunch of thoughts and we discuss with each volume. And I think it was the volume before this that I mentioned I'm kind of losing interest in Sasuke. I still like his character, but he's just been gone for so long and I've built up an attachment to so many other characters that I'm finding myself less and less excited to see their reunion. And then here he is, and it was so good, and all my interest is back. Sasuke has fallen so deep into this path that he doesn't want to be forced to face what he's left behind. Sasuke is getting stronger with his ocular jutsu, and he doesn't want to acknowledge that he and Naruto were once brothers. I love that Sai's mission beyond the mission was to kill Sasuke, but he's decided that he too can choose his own path. I do wonder how these choices are going to affect him with Danzo, but I'm thrilled to see him push back against his training and not be a blank slate. And I really hope we get to see more about Sai's bond with his brother and the memories and emotions that he's been trying to suppress. And now the scene that I'm really excited to talk about in this section. I cannot tell you how powerful this single panel is to me. The distance between them, the chasm that separates their two paths, and how Naruto is placed below, as if no matter how hard he tries, he can't reach Sasuke. He can't reach him to help him like he's been able to help others. And then Sasuke telling him that he's cut off his bonds with them and he has different bonds now. It was like a dagger to the team. He did let Naruto live, so I'm guessing we're doing a parallel with Sai here and how he had to suppress his emotions and memories of his brother in order to be the tool Danzo needed him to be. And now here's Sasuke, who doesn't want to admit that Naruto was his brother, and now he's chosen to suppress all of his emotions and memories in order to be who he needs to be to kill his brother. But we'll talk more about his dynamic with Orochimaru and with Itachi in the next video. Anyway, the panel where he so quickly appeared next to Naruto and told him, "You could lose your life on a whim." But Naruto still doesn't back down. What's the point of giving all his time to training? If he can't even save his friend, then he doesn't deserve to be the Hokage. Then, the panels of the fox spirit begging to be let out, begging for the seal to be broken so that he could be used. But Naruto refuses to tap into that power. And then Sasuke appears there and sees the fox spirit himself. His ocular jutsu has the power to see the fox, which would be impossible for anyone else. It surprises everybody in the room, including the fox spirit himself. And he can suppress the spirit somehow. This scene was incredible, and my excitement for Sasuke has completely been renewed in this single scene. The arc ends with Naruto and Sakura mourning over, once again, being faced with Sasuke, but being unable to get through to him. And again, for me, as a reader at least, these heavy emotional scenes of grief and the pain of loss in this world are some of the best scenes in the series. There's a lot going on in this manga and a ton to keep track of, but when Kishimoto gives the characters room to feel, that's when I'm the most connected to everything. And I really think that he shines in these scenes. And this is where I'm going to end the video at the end of this arc. Again, my goal was to make 2 Naruto videos for this section, so we'll see if I can cram all my thoughts for volumes 36 to 48, right? No, yeah, 36 to 48. We'll see if I can cram all my thoughts in one video for the next section. I have to write the script out first and we'll go from there. But I loved these 2 arcs, and I have loved so much about the next section of arcs that I'm gonna. I have some complaints too. There's a couple of scenes that I'm like, no. But for the most part, I'm loving what this series is doing in this section of the story. But I would love to talk to you more about it as well. I know that I missed stuff. I know I messed stuff up. This is a big series with a lot going on, and I don't think I'm getting it all. So please feel free to add any sort of clarity or your own commentary on anything that I talked about today. Please don't spoil me on anything. That would be super swell. And I will see you next week, probably on Friday. My expectation is a week from today. I will see you again with another Naruto video.